So Donald Trump is absolutely having a meltdown today and basically lashing out at everyone. These are the headlines then. The Justice Department says it has found more than 1 million additional documents potentially related to the Jeffrey Epstein case, right? So this comes out, Trump's having a meltdown. The Department of Justice then tweets out this insane tweet because basically they're saying we got all these documents, like over 1 million. They're saying this came in from the FBI, Southern District of New York, and then that they're working around the clock to redact things. They say to protect the victims, and they'll try to release it in a couple more weeks, okay? And again, we're talking about like 1 million plus documents. The question is then, is this legitimate that these are all new documents that you just discovered, or is this another delayed tactic and you'll just say, oh, well, we just have so much to go through, give us more time. And I mean, how many more million documents can you possibly find? But apparently, though, that's what they're saying from Southern District of New York and the FBI. And they are claiming that they're trying to comply with the law. Trump then is like lashing out. And he's attacking the talk show hosts and the news media while all this thing is going on. Let me show you just what Trump says. Yes, and he's crazy as he always is. From Trump. Trump says, Stephen Colbert is a pathetic train wreck with no talent or anything else for show business. Okay. Now, after being terminated by CBS but left out to dry, he has actually gotten worse. Along with his non-existent ratings, Stephen is running on hatred and fumes. A dead man walking. CBS should, quote, put him to sleep now. It is time the humanitarian thing to do. I mean, Trump is just completely whacked out. And he's been, like this for a while now. But it's just, getting worse. Why do you, care about talk show hosts? And it was actually yesterday, Trump was tweeting out like, oh, should I quit the presidency and go do a talk show? And he, I guess, was hosting some sort of award ceremony at the Kennedy Center. And, maybe for Trump, he sees the talk show host as his competition. And, as he goes to do his, new TV venture or whatever, this is what's happening. It's crazy. And then now he's threatening the newscasts. It says here, this is from Trumpers. If network newscasts and their late night shows are almost 100% negative to President Donald J. Trump, MAGA and the Republican Party, shouldn't their very valuable broadcast licenses be terminated? I say yes, right? And here's the thing with this stuff, it depends how you want to read it. If you feel like the truth is against you because like, hey, stuff gets released that doesn't make you look good. I mean, I guess when in doubt, just attack the news for releasing said stuff, right? And you look at this stuff. This is one of Trump's people. They're kind of tweeting up a storm these days. It's pretty crazy, honestly. This is Todd Blanchie says, there has been a lot of sensationalism and even outright lies these past few days about the Epstein files, right? But let's separate facts from fiction. Document production is just that. We produce documents, and sometimes this can result in releasing fake or false documents because they simply are in our possession because the law requires it. Case in point, the so-called Epstein Nassar letter is clearly fake, wrong handwriting, a wrong return address, postmarked 3 days after Epstein died, fake videos of Epstein in his cell, photos with no explanation, sensational tales and lies by random people. These are not reality. We will continue to produce every document required by law. That's not let internet rumor engines outrun the facts. And then there was, you want to call it a note on his post that was from Blanche. And I'm telling you guys, everything's just whacked out today. The note says DOJ released heavily redacted Epstein files. Representative Massey stated this exceeds the Transparency Act's only allowance, right? Victim privacy, and, quote, flaunts the law by hiding internal decisions. The act requires full release within 30 days of November 19th, 2025. So they're out of compliance. And so what they're doing right now is saying, hey, we got 1 million more documents, which may or may not be true, who knows, and that they're theoretically working around the clock to redact stuff before they can release it to the public. Now, while this is going on, there's a lot of things coming out which may or may not be true. I'll be frank with you guys. Like there's just so much it's hard to know, and that's why when we mentioned the 1 million plus documents. But this is actually local news in Ohio. This is NBC4 Columbus, and what they say. Les Wexner, Ohio's wealthiest man. So if you're in Ohio, you can let me know if you know this person. was named as a possible co-conspirator in the FBI email from 2019 regarding convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. So, these kind of emails, and this is, I guess, from the FBI, we'll start to put more pieces together. And, as that one email says, like there's, potentially, was it 10 co-conspirators, something like that? And you start to put, figure out what's going on. I think there's, way bigger than just Trump. There's all sorts of people involved with this stuff, and more is going to come out. This is something that I guess, what's his name? Stephen Miller was saying. He was basically talking about, we need to go after the news. Actually, you can listen to Stephen Miller, what he says.
And every one of those producers at 60 Minutes engaged in this revolt, fire them. Clean house, fire them. That's what I say, Charlie.
You get the idea. And what that is that 60 Minutes, right, or CBS was working on a story that the Trump people didn't like, basically exposed them regarding the prisoners sent to El Salvador. And a better way to describe it is they detained people for various questionable reasons and sent them to El Salvador, right? And the conditions were terrible. If you want to watch the 60 Minutes report, actually Cory Booker put on his YouTube page. I did look at it. It's definitely worth a watch. And I can understand why the Trump people, didn't like it, because it makes them look bad and just shows a side of the story that the Trump people don't want you to see. The Trump administration has barred 5 Europeans from entering the U.S., accusing them of pressuring American tech companies to censor or suppress American speech online. Okay. The 5 were barred under the May policy targeting foreign nationals deemed responsible for suppressing speech protected under U.S. law. Now, this gets complicated because basically you get gaslit. I'll just be frank with you guys. Elon Musk on his platform and such will promote, basically lies, essentially, or misrepresentations. And in some countries, or say in the European Union, they have regulations on that kind of stuff. And I can just tell you the truth on this. I worked at a radio station here in Busan, here in Korea. And if I just come out and, make false statements on the air, the station gets fined. Like it's not something that is considered free speech. Like I can just, make random crap up. And in Europe, they're concerned about, say, Mr. Musk and your platform with all your bots. Where does the money come from to, promote whatever ideas, where Musk will like promote far right candidates or far right messaging, these kind of things. And, they have a right to regulate their platforms they like. But the Americans are saying, no, this, you're trying to censor us. You're against free speech. But it's like, it's like you don't really know what free speech is. Like does that mean I can just make up any sort of lies and accusations about anything? Can I just distort the truth? Is that free speech? European Commission says here, we strongly condemn the U.S. decision to impose travel restrictions on 5 European individuals, including former Commissioner Thierry Breton. Right? Rubio, because I want to show you their side of the story. Rubio says, for far too long, ideologues in Europe have led organized efforts to coerce American platforms to punish American viewpoints they oppose. The Trump administration will no longer tolerate these egregious acts of extraterritorial censorship. Today, State Department will take steps to bar leading figures of the global censorship industrial complex, that's what Rubio calls it, from entering the United States. We stand ready and willing to expand this list if others do not reverse course. So they're basically trying to go after, people who want to, let's say this, regulate Elon Musk effectively. And it's funny because Kevin actually, I think this is a sci-fi author. He had a funny joke about Elon Musk's platform here. Kevin says on Twitter, I no longer see people I follow. Instead, I see it's okay to be white. Putin is a great guy, actually. Vaccines are bad and okay. Trump may be a pedo, but at least he's not a Democrat. Look at all these attractive young white people in European city. What do you notice, right? So it's blatant far right propaganda 24/7. And this is actually a big problem, right? If, for example, you would think that if you subscribe to or follow certain kind of individuals, you would see your friends and stuff like that. And this is something like, a lot of these sort of platforms, they'll just show you whatever they want to show you. So it's the algorithm, and Musk may manipulate that in any number of ways. And so for the EU, it's like, okay, Mr. Musk, please show us what's going on. And that's where, Musk gets upset and that kind of stuff. So for example, when I had Twitter on my phone, it would give me notifications of what Elon Musk was saying, even though I was not even following Elon Musk. Seriously, and other people reported this too. So it's not just me on my phone. You would get notifications of stuff you're not even following. And so then you kind of figure out what's going on here. And that's what the EU is concerned about, right? How's your algorithm operating? And where does the money coming from to promote, whatever messages? And so then the EU is then now defending themselves essentially from, people like Musk or Trump or whatever. Aura says, Europe, the new land of the free. Okay. Thierry Breton, who's the target of the Trumpers trying to, again, travel ban on people from Europe. Is McCarthy's witch hunt back? As a reminder, 90% of the European Parliament are democratically elected body, and all 27 member states unanimously voted for the DSA. So it's the Digital Service Act. To our American friends, quote, censorship isn't where you think it is, right? And that's why it's important to show you where Trump is attacking the news. If you report what Trump and stuff is doing, and then they attack, say, Europe, if Europe's concerned about the rise of fake news and manipulated algorithms, right? These kind of things. Here's more. Emmanuel Macron says, I have just spoken with Thierry Breton and thanked him for his significant contributions in service of Europe. We'll stand firm against pressure and will protect Europeans. And so, and as you guys know, Trump has been attacking Europe all along, and he never says anything bad about Russia, as you know, and Putin. Says, I firmly condemn the United States' decision to impose travel restrictions on 5 European individuals, including former European Commissioner Thierry Breton. How long and how many crises will it take for the United States to understand that by attacking the European Union, instead of supporting it, they are discouraging their best friends and allies and weakening themselves? France and the European Commission cannot stop at words. Time to act. Okay. Here's another one. And actually, there's been a real strong pushback from on Europe on this particular one. And there's any number of things, like just for example, because sometimes people say, I love Elon Musk, he's a hero. Chris, you're just so dumb. I'll give you an example. So let's say you have children or you care about children. Do you think social media companies should be allowed to just promote any kind of messages to children, right? Just think about that. Think of all the stuff that's out there, and it could be violent content, not safe for work content, any number of things, right? So that's a really, just a simple example. The children one, already Australia is taking more, how would I say, newer approaches. I believe the social media regulation for children, I want to say it's under 16. You guys, if you're in Australia, please let me know on that stuff. But various countries have stuff like that say, like, for example, should you regulate how much, online game time that children have? Say, for example, if children are in school, do you want to make it so that children need to, basically, what's the word to say it? Like, should children have 24/7 access to, playing games all day, every day, right? Is that freedom? It's just a simple question, because some countries say, well, children can only play 2 hours a day. And then I understand that point. If you be like, well, no, my child can choose how many hours a day they want to play or whatever, right? But there's everyone regulates this stuff differently, because a good example would be like, children can't go to the store and buy certain kinds of things. You guys should know this, right? So drinking age in USA is 21. It's going to be different in other countries. And so I just use the example of alcohol because that's similar to, say, video games, right? And there's different ways that countries are going to regulate these kind of things, depending if you want to protect the health of your children. And there's any number of ways you could read this one. So I think it's an interesting discussion. And for those of you who are just like, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way, that's the point. Like these are the discussions that we have. And then even in said discussions, think about how Elon Musk then manipulates the platform or misrepresent things, right? So here's another person. This is Manfred. Says, Europe is sovereign in its setting its own online rules, right? So they can do what they want, full stop. We are fully support the Commissioner Thierry Breton and the 4 European sanctioned by the U.S. administration. The DSA protects our democracies. And why are we referencing democracy stuff? Because again, if Elon Musk then starts throwing a bunch of money behind particular candidates or particular messages that are far right, essentially what we're talking about here. Henna says the European Commission strongly condemns the travel restrictions imposed by the U.S. Our digital legislation has been democratically decided by the European Parliament and our member states. And you also have Svenja says, Trump's USA no longer sees the the EU as a partner. The DSA sanctions and threats against Greenland make it very clear to everyone. The EU must fully understand, if we are not willing to become a global power to defend our freedom and democracy, we will lose both, right? And so we're getting a lot of pushback from Europe. And I'm putting this stuff together because you have to understand, right now we're just frankly in an information war. My point of view on this stuff is I just want the truth on these things and honest discussion, but it's hard in this current online environment, as you can get gaslit so much, and in the Musk platform and such, there's so many bot accounts and stuff out there. And so this is where you got to, always have your guard up, essentially, and keep your critical thinking. Don't necessarily, believe everything that you see. Think through the stuff. And I always appreciate you guys. I say in our community, you guys are smart. We do have discussion on this stuff, and every day I come in and I learn new stuff. I can't possibly know every single thing out there in the world. It's impossible. There's too much. And even say, like with the Epstein stuff, if they are indeed going to have a million plus documents, I can't physically go through all these things myself and say, oh, that's true. No, I don't know. I mean, it's so much, and that's sort of in this day and age, it's a right word to say, it's a information overload age, right? And we have to learn how to navigate this stuff together, or regulate it that needs to be fit. Just for example, I think it's appropriate, say for in the children's situation, that let's say you are, or scrolling through your Instagram, Facebook, or whatever, that certain kind of images you just don't want children to see. I don't think it's a crazy thing to say, right? And it's not just children. I mean, like, if you have said in your settings or whatever that you're like, I don't want to see, stuff that's not safe for work, just put it that way, then you shouldn't see it. But what if Musk platforms like, oh well, someone paid me a bunch of money, you definitely got to see it, like that kind of stuff. So you got to regulate these things. I don't think it's crazy stuff to say, but I understand the Muskie point of view. If you misrepresent what free speech is, then people get, misguided on that stuff. So I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on this stuff. I do appreciate your time, and I catch you all in the next video.